Welcome to the Bookworm Duo, where we explore a variety of books so you can find your next read. Let's get started.
Today we're taking a deep dive into Elif Shafak's captivating novel, There Are Rivers in the Sky. We have excerpts from the book, some critical reviews, and even a few interviews with Shafak herself, our mission. To give you a taste of this intricate world she's created and help you decide if it's the next book you want to curl up with.
Okay, let's unpack this. From what I've gathered, this book isn't your typical straightforward narrative. It's more like a braided river with two main storylines running parallel, separated by over a century, yet subtly intertwined.
Exactly. One story takes us back to 1872 to the ruins of ancient Nineveh, where we meet Arthur, a scholar obsessed with deciphering cuneiform tablets. Imagine him painstakingly brushing away the dust of centuries, searching for a lost piece of the Epic of Gilgamesh.
And here's where it gets interesting, right? He believes these missing lines hold a personal significance, almost like a message from the past, whispering directly to him. But Arthur's journey is far from a simple academic pursuit. He's navigating the complexities of Ottoman society, facing prejudice, and even grappling with the physical hardships of the expedition.
Absolutely. Shafak doesn't shy away from portraying the realities of that time and place. Now, fast forward to 2014, and we're introduced to Narin, a young Yazidi girl living in a village near the Tigris River. Her world is completely different. Yet there are these fascinating parallels to Arthur's story.
Right. She's also searching for something, a sense of belonging, a way to preserve her fading traditions in a world that's becoming increasingly hostile. The shadow of ISIS hangs heavy over her community, threatening their way of life. And just like Arthur faces prejudice, Norrin is grappling with a progressive hearing loss, which isolates her in a different way.
What's striking is how Shafak uses water as a central motif connecting these seemingly disparate narratives. In Arthur's world, it's the Tigris River, a symbol of ancient civilizations and the mysteries they hold. For Narin, water is deeply intertwined with her Yazidi faith with her grandmother, a diviner able to locate hidden sources.
It's almost like water becomes a character itself, shaping their destinies and echoing the themes of memory loss and the enduring power of stories. I mean, think about it, the very title. There are rivers in the sky, hints at this mystical connection, this idea that water transcends the physical world.
And then just when you think you've got a handle on these two storylines, Shafak drops us into present-day London with the third narrative. We meet Zulika, a hydrologist dealing with a recent breakup and struggling to come to terms with a traumatic childhood experience. Guess what it involved?
Water, right? We've seen a pattern here.
Exactly. It's almost like Shafak is drawing a line through time, showing us how water shapes individual lives across generations. Zulika is drawn to water professionally, yet haunted by it personally. Her path crosses with Nen, a free-spirited tattoo artist specializing in ancient Mesopotamian motifs, and then there's the mysterious Uncle Malek.
Ooh, Uncle Malik. A successful businessman with a hidden past and a collection of ancient artifacts that spark Zulika's curiosity. Feels like there's a whole other story waiting to be unearthed there.
There is, and as Alika delves deeper into Uncle Malek's collection, she's also forced to confront her own past, her feelings of displacement, and ultimately her own relationship with water. It's a journey of self-discovery mirrored in Arthur's quest for knowledge and Narin's struggle to preserve her heritage.
So we've got three characters, three journeys, all interwoven with the symbolism of water and the enduring power of stories. This is shaping up to be quite a deep dive, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. And we've only just scratched the surface. There are layers upon layers here waiting to be explored. But I think we should pause here for now and let our listener absorb all this.
Good idea. It's a lot to take in. But trust me, you'll want to stick around for this one.
You know, one thing that really struck me about There Are Rivers in the Sky is how Shafak weaves together these personal stories with broader historical and cultural themes.
You're right. Like, it's not just about Arthur finding a lost tablet. It's about understanding what ancient civilizations can teach us about ourselves even today.
Exactly. Take the Epic of Gilgamesh, for example. It's not just an ancient adventure story, it's a meditation on life and death, on friendship and lost themes that are just as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago. And through Arthur's obsession, we get to see how these ancient stories still hold power, how they can resonate across centuries and speak to our deepest fears and desires.
It's like holding a piece of history in your hands and feeling its weight.
Yeah.
You know? And it makes you wonder, what stories are we telling now that will echo through time? What will future generations glean from our lives, our struggles, our triumphs?
That's a great question, and I think Shafak is subtly asking us to consider that. But it's not just ancient Mesopotamia that comes to life in this book. You get a real sense of the Yazidi culture, too, especially through Narin and her grandmother.
Oh, absolutely. Their story is heartbreaking given the threat they face from ISIS, but it's also incredibly powerful. The way they cling to their traditions, their belief in water as a sacred life-giving force, it really stayed with me.
And it's made even more poignant by Nurin's hearing loss. Imagine this young girl about to undergo a sacred baptism in the Valley of Lolis, a ritual that's supposed to connect her to her ancestors, to the very essence of her faith, but she's losing the ability to hear the prayers, the chants, the stories that are so integral to that experience.
It's almost like she's racing against time, trying to absorb everything before it fades away.
Mm.
And then there's Zalika trying to piece together her own fractured history while grappling with her uncle's ethically questionable actions.
Right. And don't forget the fascinating connection that emerges between Arthur and Nurin's stories. We learn about this Yazidi diviner named Layla, who Arthur met during his time in Nineveh. She had this incredible ability to find water, a skill that was revered within her community. And generations later, Nurin and her grandmother hear tales of King Arthur of the sewers and slums, the Salar obsessed with ancient Mesopotamia.
Whoa, it's like these invisible threads are being drawn across time, connecting these characters in ways they couldn't even imagine. And it all circles back to the symbolism of water, this force that transcends borders and generations, linking us to the past and shaping our future.
What's interesting is how Shafak uses water as a metaphor, not just for connection, but also for memory. There's this concept of water memory, the idea that water retains an imprint of everything it's touched. It's a controversial theory, scientifically speaking, but it's a powerful image, isn't it?
It is. It's like saying our past is never truly gone. It's still there, flowing beneath the surface, shaping who we are. And just like water can erode mountains or carve out canyons, our experiences leave their mark for better or for worse.
And that brings us to another key theme, resilience. These characters have all faced incredible hardship, yet they find ways to adapt, to overcome, to keep moving forward. Nurin facing the loss of her home and her hearing Arthur battling prejudice and the physical challenges of his expedition, and Zalika trying to heal from a childhood trauma and reconcile with her past.
It's inspiring, isn't it? It makes you think about your own challenges, the times you felt lost or overwhelmed, and how you found the strength to keep going.
Yeah.
And it makes you appreciate the power of human connection, the way our relationships can sustain us through difficult times.
Absolutely, and I think that's one of the most powerful messages of this book.
Right.
Even in the face of unimaginable loss, even when the world feels like it's falling apart, there's always hope. There's always the possibility of healing, of connection, of finding meaning and purpose in the midst of chaos.
It's like that image at the end of the book, a snowflake falling over London, carrying a droplet of water from the Tigris River. It's a small detail, but so powerful, reminding us that everything is connected, that even the smallest actions can ripple outward and have an impact across continents and generations.
Exactly. And I think that's something for our listeners to ponder. What rivers are flowing through your lives? What stories are shaping you? And how can you use your own experiences, your own voice to create ripples of positive change in the world?
Those are great questions. And I think they really get to the heart of what makes There Are Rivers in the Sky such a thought-provoking and rewarding read.
I agree. It's a book that stays with you long after you finish it, prompting you to look at the world and your own life with a newfound sense of wonder and possibility.
Well said. As we've been talking about this book, I keep coming back to the title, There Are Rivers in the Sky. It's such an evocative image, and I'm curious, what do those rivers represent to you?
That's a beautiful question. And I think those rivers represent so much more than just water. They symbolize the flow of time, the interconnectedness of everything, the invisible forces that shape our lives. Remember how Nurin's grandmother talks about the celestial waters, how they nourish our souls, just as earthly rivers sustain our bodies?
Right, and how those rivers in the sky are a reflection of the Tigris and the Euphrates, these ancient rivers that have witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations. It's like Shafak is saying that history is alive, that it's still flowing through us, shaping who we are.
Exactly. And think about how Arthur, this man of science, is initially skeptical of the idea of rivers in the sky, yet as he delves deeper into the Yazidi culture, he starts to see the world through a different lens, one that embraces both the scientific and the spiritual. It's a reminder that there's so much we don't know, so much that lies beyond our understanding.
It's like that saying, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. And I think that's one of the things I love about this book. It encourages you to question your assumptions, to open yourself up to new ways of seeing the world.
Absolutely. And speaking of new ways of seeing, Nurin's progressive hearing loss is such a powerful metaphor for that. As her world becomes quieter, she starts to notice things others might miss. She becomes more attuned to nature, to the subtle vibrations of life. It's like she's developing a different kind of perception, one that's not limited by the five senses.
It's like she's learning to listen with her heart, with her soul. And that's such a beautiful concept, isn't it? To find beauty and meaning in the midst of loss, to adapt and grow in unexpected ways.
It is. And I think it speaks to the resilience of the human spirit, this ability to find strength even in the face of unimaginable hardship. Look at all three characters: Naren facing persecution and the loss of her hearing, Arthur battling prejudice and the physical challenges of his expedition, and Zelika trying to heal from a childhood trauma and confront her family's secrets.
They all face these incredible obstacles, yet they find ways to persevere, to draw strength from their passions, their connections to others, and their beliefs. And in a way, that's the most hopeful message of the book, wouldn't you say? That even when the world feels dark and chaotic, there's always the possibility of finding light, of finding connection, of finding a way forward.
I completely agree. And I think that's something we can all take away from this book, no matter what challenges we're facing in our own lives. Remember that image of the snowflake falling over London, carrying a droplet of water from the Tigris River? It's a reminder that everything is connected, that our actions, however small, can have a ripple effect across time and continents.
And that we all have the power to create those ripples to make a difference in the world. Whether it's through our work, our relationships, or simply the way we choose to live our lives, we can all contribute to a more just, compassionate, and sustainable future.
And sometimes it's the stories we tell, the ones we share, and the ones we listen to that can make the biggest impact. Just like the Epic of Gilgamesh passed down through generations continues to resonate with us today, the stories we choose to tell can shape the world we live in.
So what are the stories you're telling, listener? What rivers are flowing through your life? What connections are you nurturing? And how can you use your unique voice to create ripples of positive change in the world?
Those are some powerful questions to ponder, and I think they perfectly encapsulate the essence of There Are Rivers in the Sky, a book that challenges us to think deeply, to feel profoundly, and to connect with the world around us in a more meaningful way.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
This has been a truly insightful deep dive, and I hope our listeners are inspired to check out this incredible book for themselves.
Me too. It's a journey worth taking.
Thanks for joining us. Subscribe to our channel for more bookish adventures and hit that like button if you enjoy the ride. Don't forget to share the knowledge, and we will see you on the next episode.